Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Competitive Pricing for Sustainable Growth. My name is Michelle Eisenberg, and I am a program assistant here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the NASDAQ Center is a nonprofit building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. So as you will see in the chat in a moment, the NASDAQ Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So definitely make sure to check out those links and resources in the chat. And then just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, let us know where you are dialing in from in the chat. We always love to connect. And second, we are going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event. So please make sure to submit your questions for us in that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation, and we will try our best to get to all of them. And of course, none of what we do could be possible at the center without all of the amazing support from our sponsors, including NASDAQ, Lehigh University, BMO, Airbnb, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact, BPM, and HubSpot for Startups. We are humbled by their contributions and hope you are grateful too. And so before we get started, we like to launch just a couple polls to step back, see how everyone here is doing today. This first one's going to ask, how are you feeling? Fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? And I'll give this just a couple moments. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, gonna go ahead and end this poll, share these results. Awesome. Looks like optimism is in the lead. Definitely have some feelings of survival and anxiety. Hopefully, some of our conversation today will help alleviate some of those feelings. I'm going to stop sharing this poll and launch that second poll. What is keeping you up at night? Finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, team, or surviving? And this one just helps us understand your current needs as an entrepreneur, business leader, so that we can continue to provide meaningful resources and programs to all of you. Awesome. We got folks from Ohio, from DC, California, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington, New Jersey, Atlanta, Georgia, more California, Ohio, Mississippi, Tulsa. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you all here with us today. Awesome. All right, gonna end this poll and share these results. All right, finance coming up in the lead, fitting for our conversation today. Sales coming up behind, also fitting, and we got other needs across the board. So thank you all for participating, super helpful. Gonna stop sharing that poll, and without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest, Zahra Yarahmadi, founder and financial strategy consultant, pricing expert at BG Financial Consulting Group, LLC. Zahra, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today. I'm super excited for this one, and I'm going to pass it right over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks everyone for joining. This is such an honor to be here and surrounded by everyone that is interested in the topic. I know we have a limited time, and I wanted to cover as much as I can for the audience for joining. So I straight jump into it and start sharing. Okay, here we go. So again, thanks for everyone who joined this call. I want to start this with how the question that keeps a lot of the CEOs, founders, and business owners up at night. One of several, that is, How can I improve my business margins by 10% while I'm growing? How can I break even? How can I become profitable? The question that keeps us awake a lot of times. I am Zahra Yarahmadi. I'm the founder and the business owner of a boutique financial consulting firm that helps startups, small and medium businesses, providing a strategic financial advice. And one of the expertise and solutions that I provide is pricing. I have helped over 100 SaaS and subscription businesses to increase their profitability and reach their financial goals through pricing and revenue strategies together. I would like to extend my gratitude to NASDAQ Center for bringing us together. Now I want to go to answering that question. How can I improve my margins by 10%? A study done by Harvard Business, over 2,463 businesses across different industries prove that 1% improve in your pricing can increase the operating profitability of the company by 11%, right? That's a big jump. Even if you have a company that is doing the pricing right 90% of the time, you have experts on your team, it is still worthwhile doing more because that 1 extra percent will help you another 11%. So spend time thinking about these margins that you can get by being more strategic on your decisions. And going into what we are going to discuss in this call. You can see what I am going to discuss, and I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to discuss. I'm not going to explain and go over a lot of theory or basic pricing principles. A lot of us already know those. I'm not providing marketing tricks, no one-size-fits-all solution or simplistic or generic advice or cost-plus pricing methodology. I'm not here to overwhelm you with a lot of data that is hard to follow, and I'm going to stick to practical advice and what I have seen through working with several businesses during the past 4 years that actually worked for them and helped them grow. So starting with the first one, top 3 mistakes to avoid. We would like to run a poll to see what do you think is the biggest mistake that businesses make while doing pricing. Please take a minute. Have the answers. They show the answers. Nice. So most of among us are thinking the throwing spaghetti at the wall, which is one of the biggest ones. But let's see what it actually is. Okay, the biggest one I've seen is copying competitor pricing. The second one is guessing games that they approach that a lot of people take to see what works or not. And then the third one is balancing price and value. Why is copying competitor pricing is the biggest one is because it hurts businesses the most. When you copy someone else's pricing, that means you're not putting the right amount of work and homework on your business to do to understand how truly this business functions. And you will miss a lot of points that are crucial for your operation, for your finance. That's why that is the biggest mistake that people make. Guessing games by trying different strategies to see which one works confuses your customers and hurt your business. And then pricing your product not aligned with the perceived value will hurt you in the ways that you are going to acquire customers. Having said that, let's move on to the next, pricing and its impacts on the business. So I want to start with a few examples of the name brands we all know and how subscription have helped them. I specifically picked name brands that we all know or heard of, so it makes it more clear how it works for them. Salesforce. Salesforce is well known for pioneering the SaaS or subscription model for software or services. The strategy allowed them to open up their customer base by taking out the barrier of entry, which was their product price, which was super high for a lot of businesses. And breaking it down, they opened their base to big market with medium and smaller size businesses and increased their customer base. Also, by being the first one, they became the leader in the industry. LinkedIn, all of us have heard of, they have implemented a tiered subscription one, which allow different value proposition for different users because it's a two marketplace. There's the job seekers and there's companies. So they have different models for different users in the same environment. This approach helps them to maximize their revenue by offering variety of value props to diverse customer segments. And then we have Nespresso. This one is really interesting because they adopted a tech pricing model that we all know about implied it to a consumer product industry, similar to printers. It's a coffee machine. You buy it once, but for eternity, like me, you have to pay every month for the pods to come in. So that secured a recurring revenue for the company that increased their top line and increased their valuation. So what do we take away from these examples of how subscription can help or impact the business? From the first one, you would see that the long-term business sustainability is where it comes from. It's going to not be a day or two or a month or 2 years, but your customers would stay with you as long as they are seeing benefits for the product. Because it's recurring, it helps to manage your bottom line. Every month you would know that there is cash coming or revenue getting generated from their customer that have already signed up previous months or years. And then it helps the business to be more liquid. What other effects a subscription pricing has? It creates investment attractiveness. How that works in the world of buying and selling companies or going through M&As or selling their business, one of the factors that everyone looks at is how much recurring revenue company does have in their balance sheet or income statement. That secures that this business will effectively run in the future. There are other elements that come into valuation, but seeing a recurring revenue multiplies your valuation by 2-3x. So that's why it's important to show a revenue that keeps coming. And it creates operational efficiency because you put all of these, instead of having several pricing models for several products in several business lines. You have one that simplifies the operation of the company in the finances. One of the biggest challenges that subscription businesses have is having a pulse on their financial health, or understanding how these decisions that they make every day will affect them in short and long term. And that's because of the complexity that comes with subscription. How it's going to get achieved is obviously from what we mentioned, the recurring revenue portion, the customer lifetime, that the longer they stay, the more secure is the business, how we can manage the churn rates, grow the user base, and manage the business cash flow to have a healthy business, I think. What other takeaways this has? Like pricing, the right pricing reflects the value proposition. It signals the quality and uniqueness of the company's offering. It can amplify the company value by creating branding strategies. When Salesforce became the first one, it sets them as a leader in the business. Everyone identifies, still a lot of people, when we say SaaS, that's the first thing they think about. Subscription is Salesforce. Surprisingly to me, still that exists. So when you come up with a pricing model that really works, it helps your brand. And then marketing a strategy. Obviously, it's a crucial component to any market strategy to align what the product offers with the expectation of the target market. There's a lot of misconception that pricing is only for large corporation. And if I'm not a large company, I don't need to really do this. I can just copy others or do some A/B tests. But the pricing is the key ingredient for success of your business. Doesn't matter what size it is. It helps you navigate the market with confidence, tailor offerings to meet the unique needs of your clients, secure a business that thrives in the future, and also thinking about having a pricing strategy helps you to keep a pulse on your business financial health. So from today on, I want to encourage you not to look at these numbers when you go on a website as just a dollar sign. These are strategies put together and should be have put in together carefully with consideration of the product and the customer. To go into the exciting topics of how to build a winning strategy for our pricing. There are I've divided into 6 steps. 1, 2, 6. I figured out number 1 and number 2. Almost everyone completes these steps, and usually that's where they stop. The step 3 one, which is the cost calculation, a lot of my clients and a lot of companies I've seen that they understand or do some efforts in understanding the cost, but probably not to 100% of it. And also from here, they jump into copying competition. So that's like usually where the jump comes from. They do market research and competitive analysis, and without fully going through cost calculations, they jump into whoever is there well known in our brand. Let's copy paste them. But that's where all the mistakes happen, right? you will be surprised to know a lot of time your competitors haven't done the homework either. They're just going through the spaghetti method, or they're just trying to see what works or not. And when someone else copy them, what that happens is mistake over mistake, and it becomes a race to the bottom, right? So you want to know what the cost associated with your product truly, as much as you can. I understand there's a lot of times there that you can't estimate a lot of these costs because you might be new in the business or simply don't have access to that data, right? But understanding and creating a cushion for them matters. So after understanding the cost, selecting a pricing model that fits your product with the assumptions based on your customer behavior. We can't come up with one pricing that fit everyone. Specifically in subscription and SaaS, you need to understand the customer cohorts that you have and how each one of these cohorts or customer profiles use the product. And while you get to understand your customer and adjust your pricing models, then it's important to monitor in long term to see how that is affecting your top line and bottom. So let's go. Pricing challenges or challenges that you will face putting this strategy together most of the times. I know this slide is full of text. The reason is there's a lot that happens in this stage when you're doing cost calculations that I wanted to bring your attention to. Also, I added the product on the left for those who joined us that are not in subscription, but in product pricing for their reference. So the first one, or the biggest challenge I have seen, is for those companies who provide freemium models, right? Freemium or trials. Offering a service that is free is okay, and it's a great strategy, right? But freemiums are like a double-edged sword, right? It can hurt you and it can benefit you. If there's a correct strategy there on how to convert these guys from the free to a paid user, that's a good investment. If not, then that will actually be the downfall for the business, because they will take the time and resources from all the company, from the paying users, and pull your company back. But how to adjust these together or balances is the secret. You need to know from your freemium users how much of resources they are using for how long, and where to put caps and checks and balances to make sure these guys don't stay freemium for eternity, or at least there is a stop button for them. A lot of time you've seen that especially now more than before, we see 1 week trials or 1 month. It really depends on the customer learning curve and how fast the customer can get aligned with your product and use it to their benefits and see the value prop. If your product is good enough that in a week the customer can see the value you're bringing, you don't need to offer it for months. Right? If the freemium product you're providing has a usage base, it doesn't need to be unlimited. I have worked with companies that were also non-profits and they provided services. And it was a good case study because we realized a lot of enterprises would use their products for free instead of paying. They had paid versions, but no one will opt in because the freemium they were providing would cover even commercial use. By putting checks and limits on the freemium, we converted more than 50% of freemium users to paid users. But how to put those caps or roofs or stops is really a decision that needs to be based on your data of the customer and how they use the product. The next one in calculating the cost is missing the customer acquisition cost. This is also a misconception. A lot of times we think the money that we put, for example, in R&D of the product, or if it's a physical product, the material that goes into it is the cost of the product. It's more than that when you're doing pricing. When you're doing pricing, you need to account for the money you are paying to acquire a customer. How long, and because it's a subscription, how long they're staying with you. I want to make a simple example. So the biggest difference between a subscription business versus, let's call them traditional, that are not subscription, is you are going to get the money for your product instead of beginning in an installment. So if it's a yearly contract and the cost of the product, the price of the product is 120, you are going to get 1/12 of it every month, right? That's a simple math. But you have to pay for the cost of the customer that you acquired, the cost of product itself, the cost of implementation that goes into it, the cost of sales, which a lot of time you have. If you're B2B, you have a sales team, direct or indirect, that they need to get paid up front. So when you put all of those numbers together, it might, let's for simplicity say it's $60. So if the customer stays even 6 months, your stock is still not breaking even on your product. And if the customer leaves you before that 6 months, you're basically lost all your investments. And you accrued a loss for that 6 months. That's why it's important when we are running a subscription to understand the cost that we are putting into our product and every cost associated with it, whether it's development fees, whether it's maintenance fees, whether it's a scalability expenses, budgeting for data storages, bandwidth requirements, budgeting for your sales team salaries, the marketing budget that goes into it. So because at the end of the day, that product that you're selling has to cover all of the cost of the business running. And the revenue that is doing it comes straight from the price they are paying. So if the price is not set correctly, you can't cover all of them. So a lot of time you see when we talk about cost plus margins, the business doesn't have a true understanding of what those costs are. So here are the missing ones that I've mentioned in summary that are a lot of time missed. The other one that I want to mention is when you are developing new features or you have a complex service offering. You have several add-ons, you have several tiers, you have several bundles that you are offering. That makes it more complex to calculate a lot of these dollar amounts across the business and allocate it to the right product. So the more complex you have your pricing model, it hurts you first in customer acquisition because it's more challenging for them to understand what they're going for. And it also hurts your operation because it becomes significantly challenging for your internal team to control those costs, specifically for your finance and operation. To follow up. When you have 10 clients, that's okay. Everything can be done on Excel. But once you hit 100 customers, who is going to keep track of the renewals, the invoices, all of that? Yes, true, there are a lot of systems out there that you can bring in and use to manage a lot of these workflows, but still, it's going to cost you money to run and operate all of that. So it helps if you simplify the format for yourself and for your clients. Moving on to how to pick a right pricing model. So where should we start, right, to get all of this right? Start from customer journey. Truly understand how the customer comes to you, use your product, and reuse your product. Pricing should be a function that works hands in hands with your marketing, sales, and finance team, and have a true understanding of your product, and work with your product managers too, right, to understand the true product to be able to do the correct pricing. So once you mapped out your customer journey, you can understand the cost associated with each segment of it. Because we are doing, this call was supposed to be B2B SaaS focused. One of the hurdles that we see a lot of times is extended sales cycles, right? Because you're selling to a business, there are different decision makers when you're selling to a business. It takes longer time in different industries to close a contract. In healthcare, God knows, maybe a year to close. In some of them, it's a month. But there's always longer term sales cycles when you are doing B2B SaaS. So it's important to understand how that sales cycle works. And if there is an implementation phase also in that which I've seen a lot of times there is, account for implementation phase 2 for the cost. Also account for customizing solutions. A lot of time your clients have a specific request that needs time and resources from your team to build those solutions to fit your customers' needs. Accounting for the need to align with business customers' ROI expectation. At the end of the day, when you put all of these factors together, think about, does the price tag you're putting in really aligns with the value and ROI the customer is getting from your product? So it's not. And it's not the customer fault that probably you don't have a good management system for your implementation, and your implementations cost too much, and you have to sometimes charge that to the clients. So once you know what are these costs, then you can understand that how you can manage, decrease, optimize those costs in each section. And the last one is accounting when you have you want to give volume discounts. Because there's a longer sales involved, and there might be, as we discussed, custom solution, a volume discount becomes really challenging, right? It's crucial to understand what is now the cost in long term versus short term. It's different when you are doing a contract for a year versus 5 years. It's different when you're pricing for a client that is probably having 100 seats versus 1,000 seats, and they're asking you, for example, for a 3-year contract. The team needs to calculate all that goes into this longer contract to balance the amount of discount you're giving out. So at the end of the day, you are not hurting your business. So we touched on a lot of the complexity that comes with subscription pricing, the needs to balance the cost and value, the ROI that customer expects. We didn't touch on was the need of pricing flexibility for your larger clients and even the smaller ones. So in your approach, when you're understanding, I want to go hit on the customer journey and come back, is or the need pricing flexibility. Yes. So when we understand our customer journey, we understand how they are using the product on even everyday basis. That's where we can come up with flexible pricing for them to help them get the value they really need out of the product. What do I mean by that? In simple terms, are if my customer is using, let's say, a few features of the product most of the time, that takes, let's say, a lot of processing power from an AI function that I have, or the cloud space that they are using, right? Make it to a point for them that they can a lot of time pay by their usage. Make it flexible. Don't go into everyone needs to go these three. When you go, you set the 3 tiers, then add for custom pricing, contact us. We will come up with a solution. So meet them where they are, but try to avoid a lot of complexity. Pick the ones that you can manage. Don't give everything out for being as a flexible option, just the few that you can control. So here, after covering all of those, I want to give you the 7 tips for optimizing your pricing strategy at any point you are. We are at 39 minutes. We have a Q&A at 12:45. So within this 10 minutes, before giving the tips for your business moving forward, I have a request. If you found this in this talk effective, you liked what you heard, and you find it practical, I would appreciate if you could simply scan the QR code you can see on the screen and take a 1-minute survey. You can use the code I have on the screen to the right profile, and we go into wrapping up or meeting. So, what are the 7 tips? When you truly understand your cost and understand on top of that how much margin you initially need just to run your business in short and long terms, and you have the right fit pricing model for your customers, but you are still in the beginning of the journey, as a startup, for example, you want to utilize A/B testing for feedback in the beginning. By A/B testing, I don't mean that go through 100 price changes. Carefully and considerately come up with 2 only, right? And use different landing pages, the best practices for A/B testing for a limited time to understand which way is a better fit for your product. And go through that way. Don't ever go through 10 or don't run hundreds of A/B and tests in a short amount of time. There's no issue with changing your prices. A lot of people think that pricing is one time and forget about it. No. Every 6 months, take a look at where you are, how the customers are using, and how the price is working with your customer tiers and segments. And proactively, basically, on the number 2, optimize your pricing. As example, we can say Netflix. Every year they increase their pricing and no one complains, right? Or many others, but they do this strategically. Base your decisions off of data. Don't go, I trust my gut, or because someone said so. Always look at your data if you have some. If you're in the beginning and you don't have access to data, use best practices and approaches. Use industry benchmarks. Choose the right time when you are making adjustments to pricing. An example can be when you are going to the holiday sales and all of that. Don't make it those times. Don't create these changes at points that are crucial for company, like you are betting a lot for a lot of revenue and cash coming in. Make it on the time periods that are less stressful for the company. Customer insights. Run surveys, ask for feedback from current customers. If you have beta users, if you're in the beginning of the journey, ask from their insight. You don't need to take all of it, but it helps you make a better decision. Psychological pricing methods. It's an area that a lot of marketing experts touch on, that what that price point should be for a product that aligns with customer expectations. Understand those pricing thresholds for your product and for your end user. While you want to do price changes, always have transparency. Don't just double the prices and send an email out that we're sorry, we're increasing our prices. Be transparent about it. Let the customer know why you are doing it, how you are doing it, to keep your customer engaged and not let them shrink. So those were my tips for using in your business while you're doing pricing. I wanted, before wrapping up and going to the Q&A session, I would like to say what are the other topics that I will be featuring or speaking about that I see are trends in this year. One would be how to price or AI features in SaaS products. Everyone is trying to add AI features in their products, but there's not a lot done on the pricing portion of it, and how to align those new pricing with industry and across our industry to stay compatible. Thank you so much for listening, and let's go into the Q&A session.
Awesome, Zara. Thank you so much. That was really, really incredible and awesome to kind of, just take it past the foundational level a little bit. So thank you so much. We do have some questions coming in already. So if you are in the audience and you have a question, we'll try to get to as many as possible. And so just to start off, I wanted to ask a quick clarifying question that we got in the Q&A about one of the 7 tips that you shared. If you could just talk a little bit more about what is psychological pricing? Like what does that really mean?
Sure. So, when you are pricing a product, for example, and I've seen this in first understand who is the end user, right? Like, is your end user a person, a business? We obviously know that, whether or we are B2B, whether B2C, and understand what is the pricing sensitivity of that customer target. I make a simple example, right? Let's forget about B2C and think about a normal product you buy online. If it's a new product you've seen, let's say, in the market, and you think you like it, but you're not 100% sure, but you're willing to give it a try, at what point you will give it a try psychologically, right? You will see, like, at the price point, I've seen studies that at the price point of a meal, right, you will try anything. If it's a product that falls under the price of a meal, you're giving it a try, right? Or let's say that was before COVID, that was $20, right? So if it was something under $20, you would definitely try it out, because that price gives you the flexibility to try it. I'm not saying to take this approach because there's so much to it, right? But
Yeah.
simple version of it. Or if we don't go like $50, be $49.85 or something, right? There's has been studies on this extensively from marketing experts on like how to put the last price on the product. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Like really thinking about like what kinds of like subconscious thoughts are going through, consumers' minds, or even in terms of, what that could look like from from a B2B perspective and like how that drives, the purchasing decisions they make. So yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you for clarifying.
I
Um,
actually have I just thought about a actual B2B one, right? Let's say you are a PR agency, right? A PR agency, and you have a B2B offering, and you want to sell it, and you want to open your marketplace, right, to a lot of smaller startup companies. That's what you want to do. But like the cost is 5K a month. That's a lot for a small startup or even small company to pay for a PR. But there's a lot of advantages to it. Should you just charge 5K from the beginning if you want to get that reach or not? Wouldn't it be more helpful to come up with a more like for that customer cohort you're targeting, right? You need to be specific about the customer cohorts you're going after. Wouldn't it be better to reduce that product size that you're delivering to align with, let's say, $1,000 a month? So it's at the end, it's 3,300 or 3,000, and they pay it 1,300 or 1,100 every month. How much more conversion you get, right? So it's understanding the perspective of your end user and understanding their budget, how much budget they have at the end that they can allocate to different products, and what is that threshold that helps them try your product.
Love that. Thank you. We have another question here that I think is interesting. And I'm not sure exactly, what industry or they're talking about, but in the case of, markets where data, pricing, or consumer behavior are not yet clear, like I'm thinking like virtual augmented reality or like even electric vehicles, maybe. I don't know exactly what they're referring to, but like some kind of industry where it's not yet exactly clear what that looks like. What advice do you have for businesses kind of looking to find that right, pricing structure?
I mean, based on different, based on industry, it really varies. It's like what methods you can. So it would be helpful if they tell what industry that is, so I can kind of modify my answer to that industry.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
if you,
Yeah, go for it.
but I start with general because, for example, if you're actually I work in automatic cars, so it's not that unclear. You actually do know a lot of this data is available, even in AI. It's available. Someone asked on how to price AI. It's a whole different word that we need to discuss. It doesn't fit in this call. That's why I mentioned that's something that I see that I would like to talk about later. But just general approach on when you're starting. A lot of times my clients come like, there's no one like us out there. We are the only one, we are the first one doing this. There's no competition out there for me to price my product. Like, what should I do? Right? So I have this approach that I work with my clients that it doesn't matter if you are the one and only. You still are hitting the end user, whether it's a business or a person that has a budget. And on every day and every month's basis, businesses need to make decisions on how much to spend on different categories. They need to spend payroll X, Y, and Z, and they already have so much more that they are paying, right? So what is the effort capability of your end user paying? So understand their budget, understand their structure. It's really important, specifically on B2B, to understand that. When you are selling to a business, who is the business decision maker? Is it the CIO? Is it the CFO? Is it the CEO? Like, who are you hitting? At what level? And what should be that looking like for them, right? So that matters when you're making these decisions. Again, like, because I don't know the industry specifically, I can't give the exact answer to you, but if we can go to another question.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I think that's super helpful though, and can apply to, the larger entrepreneurial community as they're kind of, thinking about those questions if they're, kind of in at a new market and, not much, necessarily to go off of. But yeah, there absolutely is research out there and yeah, love that. We have another question here that, came up when you were talking about the cost calculations and like some of the challenges that you shared there. Um, and this entrepreneur is, wondering like how might this approach look similar or different, for a nonprofit business?
I actually made an example for a nonprofit because um, they were nonprofit, but they still need to run a business, right? You still need to pay for your business costs. And as much as you're raising funds from maybe grants or donations and other ones to understand your costs, right? You still have a cost for product, whether you're nonprofit or profit. And so I don't get why they think it's different. The cost is cost no matter what. And
I
the
think
amount of resources they spend, even let's say they are a nonprofit, they have so much funds that they can secure and run the business, right? Still, and it's let's say it's even the ultimate version, it's free. Everything is free, right? I'm a nonprofit. I provide this free product you can use. Okay, so from your product, who are you benefiting? This is a nonprofit to benefit people and individuals, correct? Probably. Why should you let enterprises take advantage of them? If you have enterprise level users and company users, they need to pay. And that's not going to be in any conflict with your being a nonprofit, because you're still delivering your offering and service to the end user that should get it for free, but you understand who is using it commercially and you put a paywall there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a really important, point to make. And I think, the question was maybe getting at, and we have a few other questions kind of around this is, even after doing the the market research, um, standing confident with the price that you've kind of landed on, and then, justifying it to the consumer. And I wonder, what your thoughts are there in terms of like if there's a disconnect there, in terms of, just understanding that correct pricing point, or if it's, kind of like a, communication issue.
Okay. So anything that first there's an approach. Like if you know your customer journey, you can break it down into different sections and I'll assign a cost to each. Even let's say it's hard to do, right? It's significantly hard or complex, or we think it is to do. There's still you can get a good estimate. And even if it's not 100%, you put cushions that I'm not have a true understanding of how this will cost me, but I'm putting a 10% cushion here because I have talked to experts in my industry and I know that these events might happen that might increase my cost in different sections, right?
Yeah.
And then monitoring. A lot of times we forget to monitor. So if you're monitoring your customer, you can monitor your costs. So after 5, 10, you almost get a good estimate of what is the cost of this product. Even with your beta users, you can get a good grasp of what the cost is. And from there is, even if you're a nonprofit, right, and you understand the cost is too much, and there's no way I can charge my clients this much, right? There's no way they can pay $1,000 for this. And that's why I'm a nonprofit, right? Like I'm a nonprofit to provide this, let's say even for free, right? So why does this matter now again? The reason is if you know that you're running a nonprofit and you're raising funds, you still need to understand what is your cost structure because you need to go raise funds. If you don't have a correct understanding of that, then how would you know how much to raise or how much to look for to maintain this business moving forward? Right? I think there's so many different approaches to get to that cost, even if it's not 100%, to at least maybe 80%, right? Instead of shooting in the dark, because we have enough data everywhere right now on every business. It's some research you can get your hands on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Zahra, this has been such this has been such an awesome session. If you just had one key takeaway or a piece of wisdom that you wanted to leave with the audience, what would that be?
Don't copy your customers. Sorry, don't copy your competition. And even if you want to do, know why you are doing that. Understand your business first, then do that. Because if you don't understanding how your business operates, then you would never get it right, right? If you are a business owner, you need to understand how your business is. So the success is understanding your business and never underestimate or leave it because you're busy. Even if you're busy, hire experts to
Awesome, Zara. Thank you so much on behalf
help
of the
you.
NASDAQ Center and everyone here today. We're just so thankful that you joined us.
And thank you. And for NASDAQ Center, we also have two offers for people who actually joined our call. Michelle, do you want to go through those?
Yep. We have a 50% off code for courses offered on the BG Financial Consulting site, Finance Academy page. Great resources there. Would definitely recommend you checking out, if you're, wanting to continue your education in these areas, as well as, some of the topics listed on the screen there. And then, we also have a 20% off package for, the services offered at BG Financial Consulting, to get set up like one-on-one sessions with Zara directly. So yeah, definitely check those out if you're interested. And to everyone in the audience, we are so grateful that you joined us today. And we look forward to welcoming you back online with us soon.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.